Well, guys, today was the final day of the Republican National Convention, and it closed with Trump formally accepting the Republican nomination. Yep, he said, "I do," and then they were like, "You may now kiss the flag." Trump spoke tonight and delivered a message of unity. He said that he'll unify everyone, whether you're a straight white male in Houston, Texas, or a straight white male in Dallas, Texas.
Ah, yes. And if you've got a ski mask and gloves on outside of the Republican National Committee event in Milwaukee with an AK-47 in your bag, then you're undoubtedly a Biden supporter. If you're part of the anti-Israel mob in the street outside of the Republican National Convention, if you hate the Jews and chant from the river to the sea, then you are a Biden supporter. And what is their resentment of straight people and white people? We're going to take away electricity. One of these days, we're just going to pull the plug. You think this computer outage out there today, this software outage, Microsoft and CrowdStrike, you think that's a problem? You just wait. You annoy us a little more. See what we take away. Maybe oxygen, the sun. Then you'll see. Well, happy Friday and welcome back. We are at 888-630-9625. Last night, the last and final night of the four-day, four-night Republican National Convention. The Grand Old Party, the GOP in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which I think we should abbreviate as MW, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I have a friend lives in Milwaukee. Went to high school, kind of went to college together too, and he got out of Milwaukee for the events of this week because he expected, that the Democrats were going to rob and loot and burn, sack, plunder, do what the Democrats usually do. And wonderful, wonderful events last night and for the last four nights in Milwaukee. One of the headlines, Trump preaches unity as he accepts GOP presidential nomination days after surviving assassination attempt. And that is, that's a pretty good summary, a pretty good summation of what we're talking about here. 5 days after surviving an assassination attempt, former President Trump pleaded for national unity as he formally accepted the GOP presidential nomination during the culminating moment of the 2024 the Republican National Convention. And wonderful stuff, saying that I'm running to be president for all of America, not half of America. And he talked about Black Americans, white Americans, Latino Americans, Asian Americans, whereas the Democrats like to chop everybody up along racial lines and ethnic lines because you know how they are. Just racist, I think, is the one word summary, or we could just call them Democrats and then look at their history from, Jefferson Davis and Nathan Bedford Forrest to Jim Crow to Orville Faubus and George Wallace, and the list goes on. Democrats, their history, that's why they're tearing it down, the statues and the portraits and the paintings in the Capitol and in Charlottesville, tearing down their own history because they don't want it to be remembered. They want it to be forgotten. They are the American Taliban. And they love after-school Satan Club, but they'll disrupt your moment of prayer at the Republican National Convention. Let's get back to some President Trump audio. And in the last hour, we played his telling of the attempted assassination, the events of last Saturday. Now 6 days ago, last night when he was giving his speech, it was only 5 days prior, and President Trump telling the story. Remarkable things going on. And also, there is, because America is weak, we sow what weak nations sow. We're waiting for the sentencing of Wall Street Journal reporter in Russia, Evan Gershkovich, and And he was convicted. We just learned moments ago he was facing up to 18 years in prison, and now the Associated Press reporting out of Russia that Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich was convicted Friday of espionage. He is not an espionager, and sentenced to 16 years in a maximum security prison on charges that his employer and the U.S. government has rejected as fabricated. But Putin, Vlad the Impaler Putin, is a commie, and he kidnapped Evan Gershkovich, and he is using him as a political pawn. He will now extort the United States of America, shake down the United States of America. It's what commies do. It's what lefties do, from Al Sharpton to Joe Biden, for that matter. But Evan Gershkovich sentenced to 16 years in a Russian maximum security prison for being a spy, and it's not true. The swift conclusion of the secretive trial in Russia, highly politicized legal system, could potentially clear the way for a prisoner swap between Moscow and Washington. See, we've arrested somebody who's actually involved in espionage. They're convicted in a legitimate court. And man, oh man, this is what commies do. And commies also put their political rivals in prison. And the Democrats here in the United States have reached that point where they put their political rivals in prison. They're trying to imprison President Trump forever and ever for literally hundreds of years if he's convicted on all of the trumped-up Democrat charges. Remarkable thing. Steve Bannon sits in prison right now, political enemy of the Democrat Party. And it goes on and on. Honestly, amazing. Now, and they just put everybody in prison because they're the left, they're commies, and that's what they do. So now Evan Gershkovich being used as a pawn, and the Associated Press in the second sentence says it will lead to a prisoner swap between Moscow and Washington. So we already know who they're going to demand. Gershkovich, his head shaved and looking thin, honestly looks like a concentration camp victim, was calm as he stood in a glass defendant's cage in the Sverdlovsk Regional Court. He listened impassively to the verdict, gave an occasional smile, because this is what commies do. Commies just they jail their political enemies. Peter Navarro was released from prison just the other day, just in time to go up to really like the Soviet Union. These people, the Democrat Party is the Soviet Union living among us. They're not really even Western in their values. They are totalitarian in their values. Their values are authoritarian. And it's the old Russian playbook where whatever they accuse you of is what they know they themselves are guilty of. And we've played the audio for you many times of the Obama administration official testifying on Capitol Hill, explaining the old Russian playbook. An Obama administration State Department official and Biden administration State Department official Victoria Nuland testifying on Capitol Hill a couple of years ago now.
It is classic Russian technique to blame on the other guy what they're planning to do themselves.
That's right. And you're sleeping with the Russians, and Hillary Clinton's fake dossier accuses Donald Trump of being in bed with the Russians, while Bill Clinton got his biggest fee ever, $500,000 from Putin allies. And the Hillary Clinton dossier had its roots with Putin allies, from the fake British spy to a Brookings Institution person who Christopher Steele, and then the Brookings Institution guy who was a Putin ally feeding into the Hillary Clinton dossier, which then the left here in Washington used to lie to the FISA courts so they could spy on the Trump people and try to put a Naval Academy grad in prison for being a patriot. The Democrat Party is the Soviet Union living among us there. They are so close to being the Soviet Union. So Russia convicted today Evan Gershkovich, who they've been holding in a beep hole prison in Russia. Now they've given him 16 years, and the Associated Press in the second sentence is talking about a prisoner swap in the offing because everybody knows what the commies are up to. Evan Gershkovich is a hostage, and the commie Putin, the authoritarian Putin, will get what he wants probably from the Biden administration, fairly lickety-split because, in Sverdlovsk, these are not good names for cities. Sverdlovsk Regional Court, not a good name. Severodvinsk, not a good name. So that's the breaking news, just happening as we go. And I find it hilarious that the Democrats are calling their effort, again on the front page of the Washington Post above the fold today, above the Donald Trump news today, roiled by doubt and division, top Democrats renew push to replace Biden. And they're calling it Plan B, which is ironically their favorite abortion pill, their favorite abortion drug. And they're going to abort the 81-year-old president, Joe Biden. And under Plan B, Biden would resign from the presidency. Yeah, I don't see that happen. I don't think he's going to do that. Letting Kamala Harris become president and the consensus nominee without a contest. That's because they're saving democracy, you see. So all of the primary voters that voted for Joe Biden, all the Democrat primary voters across the country that voted Joe Biden, screw them. Who cares about them? Don't you know the party bosses are in charge? And they'll be in charge of the country if given they're in charge of the country right now. Joe Biden is a sock puppet. He's obviously not in charge of anything. Kamala Harris is a dimwit who dated Willie Brown in California and doesn't have many qualities beyond that. And she's not in charge of anything. She's our border czar. Heck of a job. She should be in handcuffs for being our border czar. And I love how they use the Russian word czar. And she should be czarina, by the way, which is the correct word out of Russia. Under these conditions, historically, the party holding the White House usually wins re-election, says this latest news report. Just amazing. And the Daily News out of New York, if they jettison Biden, a plan B for Democrats, make Kamala Harris president right now. See, because then they could swap out. Biden would have to step down, but he doesn't want to. Then Kamala Harris, because she's vice president, ascends to the presidency. Then she's the one running, and it kind of makes a little bit of sense on the ballots. And she gets to choose a vice president, right? It's probably the governor of Ohio. Is that who it is? The Democrats. But the fix is in. They rigged the system because they don't care. The law doesn't apply to them. And say, the money can't go to Kamala if Joe Biden's dead. Yeah. Don't believe whatever rules they talk about. Those don't apply to the Democrats. The laws don't apply to the Democrats. The rules don't apply to the Democrats. The law of gravity, the laws of nature don't apply to the Democrats. They'll do whatever the hell they want. So there it is. And are they going to get rid of him? Mark Halperin, who you may know, tweeting out over the weekend that the Democrats have a plan, and it involves Joe Biden leaving the presidential race but staying on as president. That does create a complication because then you'd have to have an open convention in Chicago, which would lead to more anarchy than the Democrats normally have. And, their normal level of anarchy is sufficient, I think, for any third world country, which we are rapidly becoming thanks to the Democratic Party. That right now we're seeing a lot of surprising shifts in America's political landscape, and it's urgent that we all be prepared for the changes coming our way. Presidential race getting crazy, and we need to take action now to protect our finances, regardless of who wins in November. For a whole lot of Americans in uncertain times, action means trying to protect your financial future for the family, for retirement. And gold has almost always throughout human history been a great hedge against economic and political uncertainty. And when it comes to gold, I recommend reaching out to my trusted friends at Advantage Gold. Advantage Gold. Call them today at 844-368-9797. They're going to give you a free 2024 gold and silver guide. It's a great kit. It'll help get you smart in no time at all. Plus, mention this ad that you heard about it here to see if you qualify for a $1,300 bonus. Make sure to take steps to help secure your financial future and keep your family and your retirement on solid ground as the political landscape turns to liquid. So call today to 844-368-9797. That's 844-368-9797. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional. Yeah, the Democrats are the party of chaos and anarchy, and they've fallen apart at the seams. Even Van Jones knows it. Whereas at the Republican convention, unity, sanity, normal people, no riots. Even the Democrats didn't riot. But, you know, the Chicago Democrat convention is coming up, so fasten your seatbelts. Let's go back to the phones. Michael, let us go to Matt calling from Chicago, Illinois, listening on the great WLS. Matthew, you are on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, how are you? Good morning. I just wanted to say, as far as Kamala Harris being the border czar, maybe we should keep it gender neutral. She could be the czar Tinks.
You know, that's, I think, an important point. You've given this some consideration, I can see, and very intelligently so.
Like I said, I would say Czar X, but, you know, that might confuse her boss. So we'll keep it with Czar Tinks.
By the
way, my parents have switched from Fox News to Newsmax, and you are their favorite host.
No kidding.
The next time I come to Politics on the Pine, I've been to two. I think I've got two extra people to come with me this time.
That is excellent.
Show, Chris.
Thank you very much. And I like the, you remember Joe Biden, because they like to strip gender away from everything because they're confused. And Joe Biden likes to refer to Latinos because they have, a gendered language, the Spanish language and the Italian language, because you have, Latino and Latina. And they put an X on it, and Joe Biden likes it like this.
Latinx.
He says Latinx, like it's a bathroom tissue. So you're suggesting that Kamala should, and rather than being the border czar or czarina, she could be the czartinx, right?
Yes, but I don't think she's as useful as bathroom tissue. So
you're right about that,
bathroom tissue.
And not as popular either.
Latinx.
Now, last night, CNN, which loves embarrassing themselves, they had a fake fact checker on because they get a lot of grief from the left, their dwindling number of viewers, for not fact checking Trump in real time. No demand to fact check Joe Biden or Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton in real time because they're a propaganda outlet and their dwindling number of viewers, they want propaganda. They want to be lied to and brainwashed and indoctrinated. They don't want to understand the world as it is. They just want to view it through a straw issued to them by the state because some people's brains are not as good as other people's brains. But they had a fake fact checker on named Daniel Dale last night. And I just want to share one of his brilliant fact checks. All right. Now, when President Trump was president, let's go back to Obama. Putin invaded the Crimea, the Crimean Peninsula, part of Ukraine, and stole it because, he's a commie thug, killer, KGB, Stasi, murderer, and not to be redundant, slayer, and he, Vlad the Impaler. And then during Trump's 4 years, Putin just kind of sat there in the dacha in the Black Sea and didn't invade anybody. Joe Biden came in, and of course, Putin invaded Ukraine. And now we've spent, I don't know how many hundreds of trillions of dollars fueling the never-ending war in Ukraine. The military-industrial complex loves Joe Biden, and they love the war in Ukraine. And all Joe wants, there are no peace talks ongoing anywhere at the UN, in Geneva, at the Hague, nowhere. They're not interested in peace talks. They're interested in fueling the military-industrial complex, and I'm sure their friends are getting rich off of it because that's what happens in corrupt countries, and we are a corrupt country because the left is in charge of the Democrat Party. Just scratching the surface on all that. Also, the Iranians were not rolling in cash, although Barack Obama helped make them wealthy too. The Iranians funding the Houthi rebels in Yemen, where there was an ongoing civil war. They fund Hezbollah in Lebanon, firing rockets at Israel at will. And, of course, Hamas, which is not just a sandwich anymore, and they waged war. They launched a war against Israel, which is ongoing now. And none of that happened under President Trump. So President Trump made mention last night of the fact that Joe Biden has been the leader of the United States and the free world as the world has been slipping into more and more war. And here's President Trump, what President Trump said, and then CNN fake fact checker Daniel Dale doing a fake fact check.
The world was at peace. Our opponents inherited a world at peace and turned it into a planet of war. We're in a planet of war. The whole world was at peace, and now the world is blowing up around us.
This is false. Trump did not achieve world peace when he was president, certainly wasn't at peace when he left office. There were active wars or armed conflicts in dozens of nations in 2020, 51 by one research institution's count, and then 51 again in 2021. Trump handed President Biden ongoing civil wars in Yemen and Syria, of course, an unresolved Israeli-Palestinian conflict, Israeli-Iranian conflict,
unresolved.
The war in Ethiopia. I could go on for a while, but I don't have time because there were so many other false claims.
Because there were so many other false claims. So he's going to move on to the other false claims. There were dozens of wars that the news media didn't cover, that nobody mentioned, that the United Nations didn't care about, that, there's a war in Togo. Did you see the latest update on what's happening in Burkina Faso? Because, another car bomb in Mauritania. Sure, any place you have a lot of Muslims, you have car bombs and kidnappings and decapitations and murders and civil war. That's just a statement of fact. You see the riots in England last night by their Muslim imports, where now the number one name for a newborn boy in England is Mohammed, with 3 different spellings of Mohammed. But no, let me tell you, Daniel Dale, there was no war in Europe and there was no war in Israel. In fact, Donald Trump secured 3 peace deals between Israel and 3 different Arab nations and was on the precipice of securing a peace deal between Israel and Saudi Arabia, which would have changed the region permanently. Now, Joe Biden's been president for more than 3.5 years. And is it more than? I think maybe tomorrow it's more than 3.5 years. And now it's more than 3.5 years now. And no peace deals. Just war in Europe, war in Ukraine, war on NATO's edge, war in the Middle East. The Houthi rebels in Yemen attacking ships trying to make their way into the Suez Canal, which is one of the world's, economically speaking, most important waterways. When there are 51 conflicts going on in 51 beephole countries that nobody can spot on a map, that's what we call world peace in the 21st century, you dimwit. But that's what you get from CNN. Oh, no, there were 51 conflicts that no one paid attention to. And then there were 51. Now there's war in Europe and major war in the Middle East under Joe Biden. No invasion of Ukraine under Donald Trump. No attack on Israel under Donald Trump. Peace deals in Israel and with Israel and in the Middle East under Donald Trump. Donald Trump wasn't funding Iran, the Islamic Revolution of Iran.
Trump handed President Biden ongoing civil wars in Yemen and Syria.
Yeah, okay. And nobody cared because they've been at war since before I was born. In fact, they've been at war since before Jesus was born because their beephole countries where everybody kills each other all the time. And here's the thing, Daniel Dale, they always have, you maroon. And chances are, until they all kill each other off, they always will. That's the reality of the world, sweet potato. I'm telling you. All right. So that's you're just scratching the surface on some of your news media from last night. Now let's get back to, I think we left off at number 11, and we had number 12 hanging the balance. Let's go back to President Trump from his lengthy speech last night, which went 92 or 93 minutes, and it's the longest convention speech in the history of recorded time of convention, longer than the Bill Clinton speech. And Bill Clinton was pretty much booed off the stage for his, but he was tedious. President Trump was a lot of fun and having a good time, and the crowd was having a good time. President Trump last night in Milwaukee.
If you took the 10 worst presidents in the history of the United States, think of it, the 10 worst, added them up, they will not have done the damage that Biden has done. Only going to use the term once. Biden. I'm not going to use the name anymore, just one time.
2 times.
The damage that he's done to this country is unthinkable.
He did. It was leaked before the speech that he was not going to use Biden's name in the speech. Then he used it, and then he said, Biden, and he said, I'm not going to use it. I'm only going to use it that one time, Biden. That's twice. But that was fun to follow along with because we were told ahead of time he was not going to use Biden's name, and I thought that's kind of a good idea. That's sort of fun. But it was President Trump's tone. Everybody's noticed it, even before he spoke last night. It has his change in tone and demeanor, and I used the term physiognomy yesterday, and I got a couple of texts about that. Oh, physiognomy, huh? That's, yeah, physiognomy. That's right. His facial features and composure, revealing his inner self, and his physiognomy has changed. His outward appearance has changed, I think, since last Saturday when he was nearly assassinated, and I'm holding my right index finger a half an inch over my right thumb. He was nearly assassinated by someone. Oh, and also, did you hear all this crazy stuff about how the gunman crooks, there's all sorts of weird stuff going on around him, and some of it yesterday that popped up include, well, he's got a second cell phone. They had a cell phone, and they cracked into the FBI. And then they discovered, wait a minute, he's got a second cell phone. Why does it's at home. And he's got 27 contacts in his second cell phone. And with whom has he been communicating these 27 contacts? And then there's another thing that it's being reported that and it was Congressman Michael Waltz actually who had a briefing with the FBI, and Congressman Michael Waltz, who's no slacker, he's no slouch, he said the FBI is looking at 3 different encrypted overseas accounts in the name of Crooks, the gunman. Now, how does a 20-year-old named Crooks, who lives at home with his 300-pound father that never leaves home, how does he have 3 different encrypted overseas accounts? He's got 2 cell phones. The FBI for days didn't know about the second cell phone. Then they went to his house, found a second cell phone with lots of contacts, and that would presumably mean people that he's communicating with and so on. So creepy boy had a second cell phone at home with 27 contacts on it. And the FBI is a little behind the curve. And the Secret Service chief lady, the director of the Secret Service, Kim Cheadle, she's not very good. I think she's not the ideal. And she's going to end up being toast before all this is over. Then the Democrats will give her a job doing corporate security or something like that for more money than she's ever made before. Amazing. But a lot of stuff flying all over the place yesterday. And later on, some of it will turn out to be true, and some of it will turn out to be false. And that's one of the problems we have. And social media spreads the false news more quickly than the correct, accurate, and true news. But you'd think there must be clues out there somewhere Yes, sir. I'm telling you. Yeah, but I was watching Congressman Waltz when he said that he had an FBI briefing and that the would-be assassin had 3 different encrypted overseas accounts. How does a 20-year-old have that? And all the Democrats want to say, oh, he's a registered Republican. Yeah, who contributes to Act Blue, which is a radical left-wing extremist group, and then shoots President Trump in the head. You lose your Republican card when you shoot President Trump in the head. That Republican card goes out the window. And the Democrats, again, organizing in Pennsylvania, where he lived before a Secret Service sniper put a bullet through his head. The Democrats have been organizing the crossover voter, getting Democrats to register as Republicans so they could monkey wrench the system and mess with the primaries, right? The Democrats, they lie. Now, back to the man that was shot in the head 6 days ago, and soundbite number 13. And this is what America sounds like, not the Democrats where you go to a black audience and promise black things. You go to a Latino audience and promise Hispanic things. You go to a women audience and promise, genital things, whatever. It's their way of the left cleaves the population up into subgroups and then pits the subgroups against one another for resources, as they like to say. It's a criminal enterprise, the Democrat Party. President Trump last night.
I'm here tonight to lay out a vision for the whole nation. To every citizen, whether you're a young or old man or woman, Democrat, Republican, or independent, black or white, Asian or Hispanic, I extend to you a hand of loyalty and of friendship. Together we will lead America to new heights of greatness like the world has never seen before.
Like the world has never seen before. But, in America, this whole diversity thing that the Democrats are so mentally ill about, diversity in the United States of America, this ridiculously abused and overused word, diversity is like gravity. America is the very embodiment of diversity. We are people from all over the world, and we always have been. We had to shake off the British crown and the slavery that they inflicted upon North America. And we have people from every continent except Antarctica, because, there are no people from Antarctica. But otherwise, we got people from everywhere. And we're the only country in the world that has this kind of diversity. But the Democrat Party, they want to divide and conquer. That's their whole program. But honestly, we are a nation of black and white and Hispanic and Asian and Native and everything else. And we always have been. That's the country I grew up in. And here is President Trump with another statement of fact that Joe Biden doesn't know anything about.
And the entire world, I tell you this, we want our hostages back, and they better be back before I assume office, or you will be paying a very big price.
Paying a very big price. That's to Hamas, the troglodyte jackals of radical Islam holding American hostages today. Joe Biden not lifting a finger, not talking about it ever. Evan Gershkovich being held by Putin and given 16 years in a Russian prison, maximum security prison today, just about an hour ago. And President Trump putting them on notice. There's a new sheriff in town. Of course, he's got to win the election. And then the troglodytes will hand over the Americans like that, like Ronald Reagan in 1981 on January 20th when the troglodytes in Tehran released all of the American hostages that had been held for 444 days. And Putin is on notice that when Trump comes to town, and Putin has declared he wants Biden. He said it twice because he knows he's got Biden by the tail because Biden's a monkey. It's like that. You know that the best-selling Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier uses Oxy technology, and Oxy technology helps to quickly destroy a whole lot of different viruses, odors, even mold, and a lot more in the air, in your home, in your office. There are thousands of 5-star reviews online. It works like a champ. We have 2 of them at home. Any smell will vanish, after just a few seconds with the thunderstorm being on. Odors from litter boxes and cigarette smoke and dirty diapers, even smelly left-wing protesters, are no match for the powerful Eden Pure thunderstorm. It sends out O3 molecules that help seek out and destroy odors. These molecules go behind and under furniture. Nothing can hide from the thunderstorm. And best of all, with the thunderstorm, you have no filters to buy and replace again and again. Saves you money, saves you hassle. Don't want to put it on. They're only this big. You can hold one in your hand, just like this. Right now, you can save $200 on an Eden Pure Thunder Pack, Thunderstorm 3-pack, because you hang out with me. That'll provide whole home protection. You get 3 units for under $200. So you put one in your teenager's room, in your grandmother's room, in your office. Come on, any place you like clean, fresh air. All you have to do is go to EdenPureDeals.com and use the discount code Chris3. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is Chris and the number 3 to save $200. Yeah. All right. Now, then there's the news media and their response to the Republican National Convention. We got some of those dimwits coming up as well. We are at 888-630-9625. I really don't have enough time to do you justice as a caller, going to you as a caller, but let me show you what the CBS News headline. Trump shooter online activity shows searches of rally site. Use of encrypted platforms, officials say. It is getting curiouser and curiouser. This 20-year-old who was a teenager just months ago with 2 cell phones and 3 encrypted overseas accounts. Michael, how many encrypted overseas accounts do you have currently? You've got none? I have 0. I have 0 encrypted overseas accounts. And I don't know why I would, and I don't know why he would either. And then we hear about Iran having a plot against Trump, too.